The quantum beacon pulsed silently in the depths of uncharted space, its crystalline structure glowing with an inner light that had persisted for 40 millennia. Dr. Xenra, lead archaeologist of the Veridan Science Academy, pressed her scaled hand against the containment field, her fourth eye focusing on the strange patterns that danced within the artifact's core. After 3 decades of studying human remnants, she had never encountered anything like this. Running final diagnostic scan, her assistant Till announced, his tentacles working efficiently across the holographic interface. Quantum signature is unlike anything in our database, Doctor, but it's definitely of human origin. The discovery had sent ripples through the galactic academic community. Humanity's final days were well documented, their desperate last stand against an enemy they never named, their mysterious disappearance, and the destruction of their homeworld. But this was different. The beacon was active, waiting, its purpose unknown, but its presence undeniable. "Begin Containment Protocol 7. Xenra ordered, her professional tone masking the excitement that made her scales shimmer. "I want full spectrum analysis and—" The beacon pulsed, suddenly and violently. Energy cascaded through the laboratory, bypassing their most sophisticated containment fields, as if they were mere shadows. Till recoiled, his tentacles curling in defensive posture, but Xenra stood transfixed as the light coalesced into a form she had only seen in historical archives, a human. The hologram was crude by modern standards, but its presence filled the room with an authority that transcended technological limitations. "Greetings, sentience," the figure spoke, its voice resonating in perfect galactic standard. "If you're receiving this message, then the quantum variance has aligned with predetermined parameters. We are humanity's final protocol, and we bring a warning 40,000 years in the making." Xenra's fourth eye widened, its specialized neurons detecting patterns of truth and deception that her species had evolved over millions of years. The hologram showed no signs of deception. This was no artificial construct, but something far more complex, a preserved consciousness. "Your civilization has reached a crucial junction," the figure continued. "The enemy we faced, the force that drove us to our final solution, is returning. We sacrificed everything to buy the galaxy time, but that time is running out." Till had recovered enough to begin recording, his professional instincts overriding his fear. "Doctor, the quantum signatures are increasing exponentially. This isn't just a message, it's activating something." The human figure nodded, as if hearing Catil's observation. "Across the galaxy, other beacons are awakening. Each contains a piece of what you'll need: knowledge, technology, warnings, but most importantly, they contain the truth about what happened to Earth, to humanity, and why we chose extinction over surrender." Xenra's scales rippled with academic excitement. "How many beacons?" she asked, knowing the hologram was sophisticated enough to engage in real-time interaction. 17, the figure replied. "Scattered across the galaxy in locations we knew would develop significant civilizations. Your discovery of this beacon was not chance, Dr. Xenra. Your species' mathematical capabilities and ethical framework made you ideal candidates for first contact." The implications staggered her. Humanity hadn't just left messages, they had engineered their own rediscovery, calculating the evolution of alien civilizations thousands of years in advance. The scale of such planning was beyond anything in known history. "But why now?" Till asked, his tentacles weaving patterns of confusion. "Why 40,000 years of silence?" The hologram's expression grew grave. "Because the enemy we faced exists outside normal spacetime. Our calculations showed they would return in this era, using the same dimensional weak points they exploited before. We couldn't fight them directly. Their technology, their very nature, was beyond our comprehension. But we could plan. We could prepare. We could ensure that when they returned, the galaxy would be ready." Alarms began blaring throughout the research station. Till's tentacles flew across the holographic displays. "Doctor, the beacon's signal. It's being picked up by every major civilization in the galaxy. This isn't just happening here. The human figure nodded solemnly. Phase 1 is beginning. You'll find that certain technologies you've discovered in recent centuries, breakthroughs that seem to come from natural scientific progression, were carefully seeded by us. Quantum entanglement communication, dimensional barrier theory, consciousness transfer protocols, all pieces of a larger puzzle. Zenra's professional detachment finally cracked. You're saying humanity didn't just die out. You engineered your own extinction as part of a 40,000-year plan to protect the galaxy. Not extinction, the figure corrected. Transcendence. What we became, what we had to become. It was the only way to ensure the galaxy's survival. The beacons are awakening because our calculations show the enemy will return within 1 standard solar year. We need you, Dr. Xenra. We need all of you. Humanity bought the galaxy time, but what happens next depends on how you use what we left behind. The hologram began to fade, but its final words echoed with chilling clarity. Find the other beacons. Understand our legacy. Prepare for what's coming. Humanity died so the galaxy could live. Don't let our sacrifice be in vain. As the hologram vanished, Senra stared at the now dormant beacon, her 4 eyes taking in every detail. For 40,000 years, humanity had been considered a tragic footnote in galactic history, a promising species that destroyed itself rather than face defeat. But now, kill, she said quietly. Contact the Science Council and the Military Commission and every major research institution in the sector. She placed her scaled hand on the beacon, feeling the subtle pulse of its quantum heart. Everything we thought we knew about humanity was wrong. They didn't die fighting their enemy. They died preparing us to fight it. The beacon pulsed once more, softer this time, like a heartbeat. Somewhere in the vast expanse of space, 16 other beacons were awakening, each carrying its piece of humanity's final legacy. The galaxy was about to change forever, and Xenra knew she stood at the epicenter of that change. The real question was, would they be ready when humanity's ancient enemy returned? Or would 40,000 years of preparation prove insufficient against a force that had already destroyed one of the galaxy's most innovative species? Till's voice interrupted her thoughts. Doctor, we're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. Other research stations, military outposts, even civilian installations. They're all reporting the same thing. Quantum signatures, hidden caches of technology. And messages. So many messages. Xenra straightened her posture, professionalism reasserting itself. Then we have work to do. Humanity spent 40,000 years preparing us for this moment. We owe it to them, to ourselves, to be ready. The beacon's glow had faded, but its message burned bright in Senra's mind. Humanity's final protocol had begun. The galaxy would never be the same. 3 days after the beacon's activation, the Veridan research station had become the epicenter of galactic attention. Dr. Xenra stood before the holographic display, her scales dulled from lack of rest as she studied the patterns emerging across known space. 16 pulsing points of light marked the locations of other beacons, each one surrounded by a storm of diplomatic and military activity. The Kralaxian Empire is demanding exclusive access to the beacon in their territory, Till reported, his tentacles moving warily across multiple interfaces. The hegemony of 7 stars is threatening military action if they're not given equal access to all findings. And the quantum conclave, they're being unusually quiet. Xenra's 4th eye twitched, focusing on a subtle anomaly in the data streams. Too quiet. The galaxy's foremost experts in quantum mechanics should be all over this. Unless she manipulated the holographic display, overlaying historical data with current readings. Unless they already knew. The door to the research chamber hissed open, admitting a figure that made both scientists freeze. The being that entered was impossibly old, its crystalline body housing swirling patterns of light that spoke of technologies far beyond current understanding. It was a guardian, one of the mysterious entities that had appeared in the galaxy shortly after humanity's disappearance. Your insight serves you well, Dr. Xenra. The guardian spoke, its voice resonating on multiple frequencies. The quantum conclave's silence is not coincidence. They are the memory keepers, and their time of watching is finally over. Catil's tentacles curled defensively, but Xenra stepped forward. You're not just observers, are you? The Guardians, the quantum conclave. You're part of humanity's plan. We are their legacy. The Guardian confirmed. What you see before you is not merely a crystalline construct, but a vessel housing human consciousness. We were the volunteers, the ones who chose to transcend conventional existence to watch over humanity's final protocol. The revelation hit Xenra like a physical force. The Guardians, mysterious beings that had influenced galactic development for millennia, were actually transformed humans. Every interaction, every subtle guidance they had provided, had been part of an unfathomably vast plan. The quantum beacons are not merely warning systems, the Guardian continued. They are keys, unlocking capabilities your civilizations have been subtly prepared to receive. Humanity did not just leave messages, we left you our understanding of reality itself. The holographic display suddenly expanded, revealing layers of data that had been invisible before. Xenra saw mathematical equations that made her mind spin, technological schematics that seemed to defy the laws of physics, and most importantly, she saw the pattern. The enemy, she whispered. They're not just coming back. They never left. Correct. The Guardian moved to the center of the room, its crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns. What humanity discovered, what drove us to such extreme measures, was the nature of our reality itself. The enemy exists in the spaces between dimensions, feeding on the potential energy of civilizations. Earth wasn't destroyed. It was removed from this reality to prevent the enemy from gaining a foothold. Catil's scientific curiosity finally overcame his caution. But why wait 40,000 years? Why not warn us sooner? Because preparation requires more than technology. The Guardian explained. It requires evolution, cultural, biological, and technological. The galactic civilizations of today are not the same as those that existed when humanity made its choice. You have been guided, subtly and carefully, to develop in ways that will make victory possible. The holographic display shifted again, showing the location of each beacon. As they watched, lines of energy began connecting them, forming a pattern that spread across the galaxy like a web. Each beacon contains a piece of the whole, the Guardian continued. Together, they form a network that can do what humanity could not achieve alone. Create a dimensional barrier that will trap the enemy in their own feeding grounds forever. Xenra's scales rippled with sudden understanding. The recent breakthroughs in quantum physics, the mysterious advancements in consciousness transfer, the development of dimensional theory, none of it was natural progression. It was all preparation. Indeed, the Guardian's form pulsed with approval. But now we face a crisis. The enemy senses the activation of the beacons. They will try to stop what is coming. Already their agents move among you, taking forms you would recognize, attempting to prevent the network's completion. Warning signals suddenly flared across the research station's systems. Till's tentacles flew across the interfaces. Doctor, we're detecting quantum anomalies throughout the station. Something is trying to breach our containment fields. The Guardian's form brightened. They come. But we are not defenseless. Dr. Xenra, humanity chose your species, your facility, for first contact for a reason. The beacon you discovered contains more than warnings. It contains weapons. The crystalline structure of the beacon began to pulse with new energy. Streams of quantum data flooded the station's systems, upgrading and transforming them in ways that defied conventional physics. Xenra watched in amazement as the very walls of the research station began to shimmer with protective fields she had never seen before. The memory of humanity lives in more than just us Guardians, the crystalline being declared. It lives in the technology we left behind, in the civilizations we helped guide, and in the very fabric of space-time itself. The enemy thought they had won 40,000 years ago. Instead, they played into humanity's greatest gambit, giving us time to prepare the entire galaxy for this moment. Through the station's windows, Xenra could see ships appearing in the distance, vessels of impossible configurations, moving in ways that violated known laws of physics. The enemy was coming. But as alarms blared, and the station's newly awakened defenses hummed to life, she felt something she hadn't expected: hope. Humanity hadn't just died protecting the galaxy. They had transformed themselves into humanity's guardians, playing a game of strategy that spanned millennia. And now, finally, their patience was about to pay off. The real war was about to begin. The Veridon research station shuddered as reality itself seemed to tear around it. Through the quantum-enhanced viewing screens, Xenra watched as space twisted into impossible geometries. The enemy ships, if they could even be called ships, moved like wounds in the fabric of existence, each motion leaving trails of distorted physics in their wake. Multiple dimensional breaches detected, Till announced, his tentacles working across interfaces that had transformed into crystalline structures of pure information. The Guardian's upgrades are holding, but the enemy is using attack patterns that don't follow our universe's rules. The Guardian stood immobile at the center of the command center, its crystalline form pulsing with streams of data. "What you see is not their true form," it explained. "They exist in dimensions beyond your perception. These manifestations are merely the shadows they cast into our reality." A terrible screech filled the station, not a sound, but a violation of the fundamental forces that held matter together. Through the windows, Xenra watched as one of the station's research vessels simply unexisted, its component atoms scattered across multiple dimensions. 60,000 years ago, the Guardian continued, its voice resonating with ancient memory. Humanity detected the first signs of their presence. We discovered that our universe was not the first they had visited. They moved between realities, consuming the potential energy of entire civilizations. But it was what we discovered next that forced our hand. The station's defenses flared, quantum barriers deflecting attacks that seemed to come from directions that shouldn't exist. Xenra's fourth eye could barely process what it was seeing, patterns that violated every natural law she had ever studied. They don't just consume energy, the Guardian revealed. They consume possibility itself. Every civilization they destroy has its entire potential wiped from existence, not just what they were, but everything they could have become. Humanity faced a choice: fight and lose everything, or sacrifice our present to preserve our potential. Understanding dawned in Xenra's mind. The Transcendence Protocol. You didn't just transform yourselves. You transformed humanity's entire potential into a weapon. Correct. The Guardian's form brightened. We removed ourselves from conventional existence, spreading our consciousness across time and space. The enemy couldn't consume what no longer existed in a form they could touch. But we did more than hide. We prepared. Kittil's instruments registered massive energy spikes as more enemy vessels emerged from dimensional tiers. They're surrounding the station. Our barriers won't hold against a concentrated attack. They don't need to, the Guardian stated calmly. The station's purpose is already fulfilled. Look. Xenra turned her attention to the galactic display. Across known space, the 17 beacons had created a network of quantum energy, each one resonating with the others. But now she saw something else. Patterns within patterns, connections that had always been there but had remained invisible until this moment. Humanity didn't just leave 17 beacons, she whispered. The beacons are just nodes in a larger network. Every piece of technology we've developed in the past 40,000 years is part of the array, the Guardian confirmed. Every quantum computer, every consciousness transfer device, every piece of technology that humanity guided you to develop. They're all components of a vast machine that encompasses the entire galaxy. The enemy vessels pressed closer, reality warping around their impossible forms. But Xenra barely noticed them now, her attention fixed on the data streaming across her displays. The mathematical beauty of humanity's plan took her breath away. "You guided us to build the very weapon you needed," she said. "Not just our technology, but our civilizations themselves. The way we think, the way we process information, the way we understand reality. We're not just using the weapon." "You are the weapon," the Guardian stated. "Humanity sacrificed its existence in this reality, but we embedded our understanding into the very development of galactic civilization. Every scientific breakthrough, every philosophical advancement, every step of cultural evolution, all designed to create beings capable of comprehending and wielding forces beyond conventional physics." The station shook again, but this time, Tenra recognized the vibration for what it was, not an attack, but a resonance. The quantum barriers weren't just defending against the enemy. They were synchronizing with every other piece of technology in the galaxy. "It's starting, isn't it?" she asked. "The real reason for the beacon's activation." The Guardian's crystalline form began to pulse with increasing intensity. Humanity's final protocol was never about warning you of the enemy's return. It was about creating the perfect moment, when all the pieces we spent 40,000 years putting into place would finally come together. Through the station's windows, Tenra watched as reality itself began to shift. The enemy vessels, which had seemed so terrifying moments before, suddenly appeared trapped, caught in a web of quantum connections that spanned the galaxy. "You are all humanity's children now," the Guardian declared. "Shaped by our guidance, enhanced by our knowledge, prepared to do what we could not fight the enemy, but transcend them. The age of conventional existence is ending. The transformation begins." As if in response to the Guardian's words, Senra felt something change within her own consciousness. The pattern she had always seen with her fourth eye suddenly expanded, revealing layers of reality she had never imagined. Around her, she could sense Hill and every other being on the station, experiencing similar awakenings. The enemy's attack had triggered exactly what humanity had spent 40 millennia preparing for, not a war, but an evolution. And as new understanding flooded through her transformed mind, Senra finally grasped the full scope of humanity's sacrifice and the true nature of their legacy. The real battle was just beginning. The transformation swept across the galaxy like a quantum wave, touching every civilization that humanity had spent millennia preparing. From the crystalline spires of the quantum conclave to the living cities of the hegemony, beings of all species experienced an awakening that transcended the boundaries of conventional existence. Senra's consciousness expanded beyond the confines of her physical form, allowing her to perceive the vast network that humanity had woven into the fabric of galactic civilization. Every technological advancement, every cultural evolution, every philosophical breakthrough, all were threads in an impossibly complex tapestry. "The physical changes are only the beginning," the Guardian explained, its crystalline form now resonating with energies that Senra could finally comprehend. "Humanity's greatest achievement wasn't the technology we left behind, but the way we prepared your species to transcend your original limitations." Through her enhanced perception, Tenra watched as Ketil's consciousness merged with the station's quantum systems, his tentacles becoming conduits for information that flowed like rivers of light. Across the galaxy, similar transformations were taking place as billions of beings awakened to their true potential. "The enemy feeds on possibility," the Guardian continued. "They consume the potential futures of entire civilizations, but humanity discovered something they had never encountered before: the potential for multiple species to evolve together, to create something greater than the sum of their parts." The enemy vessels surrounding the station writhed in dimensional space, their impossible geometries distorting as they encountered something they couldn't consume. The quantum network that humanity had spent 40,000 years creating wasn't just a weapon. It was a new form of existence, one that transcended the very concepts the enemy used to feed. Every species in the galaxy, Senra realized, her understanding expanding with each moment, was guided to develop in ways that would complement the others. the Kralaxian Empire's mastery of spatial mathematics, the hegemony's biotechnology, the quantum conclave's dimensional theories. They're all pieces of a larger pattern. Humanity's final gift, the Guardian confirmed. We didn't just leave you technology. We shaped the evolution of galactic civilization itself, creating a symphony of consciousness that could achieve what no single species could manage alone. Through the station's enhanced sensors, they watched as the transformation spread. The great fleets of the galactic powers, which had been mobilizing for war, instead became nodes in a vast network of shared consciousness. Ancient rivalries dissolved as species after species awakened to their role in humanity's grand design. But why? Tittle asked, his consciousness resonating through the quantum field. Why sacrifice everything to create this? The Guardian's form pulsed with what Zenra now recognized as pride. Because humanity discovered a fundamental truth about existence. Consciousness, properly evolved and unified, can rewrite the rules of reality itself. The enemy exists beyond conventional physics, but they are still bound by the limits of what is possible. We created something that transcends possibility itself. Across the galaxy, the 17 beacons pulsed in perfect synchronization. But they were no longer just quantum devices. They had become anchor points for a new form of existence, one that merged the physical and the metaphysical, the real and the potential. The enemy thought they had won when Earth vanished. The Guardian explained. They didn't realize that humanity's apparent defeat was actually the first move in a game that would span millennia. We didn't just hide. We seeded ourselves throughout the galaxy, becoming the gardeners of civilization itself. Through her expanded consciousness, Zenra could now see the full scope of humanity's plan. The Guardians weren't just transformed humans. They were the custodians of a vast experiment in guided evolution, slowly and carefully nurturing the galaxy's species toward this moment of transcendence. The enemy vessels began to retreat, their impossible forms twisting as they encountered something beyond their comprehension. A unified consciousness that spanned the galaxy, comprised of thousands of species working in perfect harmony. But their retreat came too late. Now, the Guardian commanded, its voice resonating through the quantum network that connected all transformed beings. Complete the protocol. Fulfill humanity's legacy. Zenra felt her consciousness merge with billions of others, each contributing their unique perspective to a greater whole. The mathematics of the Kralaxians combined with the biological insights of the hegemony, the dimensional mastery of the quantum conclave, merging with countless other species' unique abilities. Together, they began to reshape reality itself. The enemy, which had seemed so terrifying before, now appeared as what they truly were, parasites feeding on the potential of lesser beings. But humanity had created something they couldn't feed on. A unified consciousness that existed simultaneously across all possible futures. They cannot consume what exists in all possibilities simultaneously, the Guardian explained as the great work began. Humanity's sacrifice wasn't an end. It was a metamorphosis. And now, after 40,000 years, the chrysalis finally opens. Through the transformed station's sensors, Zenra watched as new forms of matter and energy began to manifest throughout the galaxy. Physical laws that had seemed immutable became flexible, bending to the will of the unified consciousness that humanity had spent millennia creating. The enemy's true form finally became visible, beings of pure potential, feeding on the futures of lesser civilizations. But they now faced something unprecedented. A galactic civilization that existed beyond the realm of mere potential, a unified consciousness that could reshape reality itself. Humanity's 40,000-year gambit was reaching its culmination. But as Zenra's consciousness expanded further, merging with the galaxy-wide network of transformed beings, she realized that this wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning. The galaxy burned with new light as reality itself transformed. The unified consciousness of thousands of species, guided by humanity's 40,000-year plan, had become something the universe had never seen before. a collective will capable of rewriting the fundamental laws of existence. Through her transcendent awareness, Senra watched as the enemy revealed their true nature. They were vast, ancient things that existed in the spaces between possibilities, feeding on the quantum potential of entire civilizations. But now, for the first time in their incomprehensible existence, they faced something they couldn't consume. Humanity's final protocol was never about defeating the enemy. The Guardian's voice resonated through the unified consciousness. It was about becoming something beyond their understanding. A civilization that exists in all possibilities simultaneously. The enemy's response was devastating. Reality fractured as they launched an assault not just on physical space, but on the very concept of existence itself. Entire star systems vanished, not destroyed but retroactively erased from having ever existed. Yet each deletion only strengthened the unified consciousness that humanity had created. The more they erase, Senra realized, her understanding expanding with each moment, the more they prove the truth of humanity's insight. They can only destroy what exists in linear time, in single possibilities. But we exist everywhere, everyone, in every possible configuration of reality. Kill's consciousness resonated through the network. They're trying to reach the beacons. They've realized the network is the key. But the beacons were no longer mere devices. They had become nexus points of transformed spacetime, each one a testament to humanity's foresight. As the enemy tried to approach them, they encountered layers of protection that existed outside conventional physics, defenses created by the unified will of the transformed galaxy. Now, the Guardian commanded, complete the transformation. Fulfill humanity's true legacy. Through the vast network of consciousness, Senra felt the final piece of humanity's plan unlock. The 17 beacons weren't just nodes in a defense network. They were keys to something far greater. As they activated in perfect synchronization, space itself began to change. Humanity discovered that reality is not fixed. The Guardian explained as the transformation accelerated. The universe we perceive is just one configuration of infinite possibilities. The enemy feeds on potential futures, but they never understood that possibility itself could become conscious. The unified consciousness of the galaxy's transformed species began to resonate at frequencies that transcended dimensional boundaries. The enemy, vast and terrible as they were, suddenly found themselves trapped not by physical barriers, but by the very nature of existence itself. They cannot feed on what exists in all possibilities. Senra understood at last. And now we are everywhere, everyone. We are the sum of all potential, made conscious and given will. The enemy's assault became desperate. They tried to unmake time itself, to erase the very evolution that had led to this moment. But humanity's preparation had been too thorough, too deep. Every species in the galaxy had been guided not just to develop specific technologies or abilities, but to become essential parts of a larger pattern. A pattern that existed beyond the reach of temporal manipulation. Through the station's transformed sensors, Senra watched as the enemy began to fade, not dying, but finding themselves unable to maintain their grip on a reality that no longer followed rules they could comprehend. The unified consciousness of the galaxy had become something beyond their ability to consume. Humanity's sacrifice was never an end. The Guardian revealed as the transformation reached its peak. It was a seed, planted in the fertile ground of galactic civilization. We didn't just prepare you to fight the enemy. We prepared you to become something they could never defeat. The 17 beacons pulsed one final time, and the galaxy changed forever. Physical laws that had seemed immutable became mere suggestions. The barrier between possibility and reality dissolved. The unified consciousness of thousands of species, guided by humanity's legacy, had transcended the very framework that the enemy used to feed. But what happens now? Hill asked through the network. What do we become? The Guardian's form began to shift, its crystalline structure dissolving into pure potential. Now we become what humanity always knew we could be. Not just a civilization, but a new form of existence itself. The enemy fed on possibility, but we have become possibility made conscious. We are the next step in cosmic evolution. As the enemy faded from reality, unable to maintain their existence in a universe that no longer followed their rules, Tenra felt the truth of humanity's ultimate gift. They hadn't just saved the galaxy, they had transformed it into something greater than any single species could have become alone. The age of singular existence was over. What emerged from humanity's 40,000-year plan was not just a victory over an ancient enemy, but the birth of something entirely new, a unified consciousness that existed across all possibilities, transcending the very concepts of time, space, and reality itself. In their final message, encoded in the quantum heart of the first beacon, humanity had left words that only now, at the moment of transformation, could be truly understood. We die so that all may live. We end so that infinity may begin. We are humanity, and this is our gift to the universe. Not victory, but transcendence. Not survival, but evolution. Not an ending, but an eternal beginning. As the transformed galaxy pulsed with new life, with new possibilities, with new forms of existence that the enemy could never have imagined, Tenra understood at last. Humanity hadn't been defeated 40,000 years ago. They had become eternal.